Wagwan, everyone. I hope you're doing well and welcome back again to another stream up on Tereak Talks. Guys, I hope you're having a great start to the week so far. What are we on? Tuesday. See, it took me a while to even remember that. But as you can see from the title of this video, we are talking everything Arsenal. Players, manager, board, you name it. There's plenty more to come. So I'm excited to bring this out. It's a lot better talking about Arsenal. The last time I did a video or stream like this on Arsenal, where it was just after the international break of, not the Brighton one. It was the Manchester City one, I believe. So, a lot better and a lot more fun to talk with. But before I go into it and before I introduce the guests on the channel, the subscribe, you'll see him. You'll be happy, guys. So we've got Know-How, early gang already. Jay, he's not happy with you, Know-How, for coming in so early. What are you saying to you, my bro? I'm good, thank you. How about yourself? You and Rich stream at the same time? I know, man. Arsenal versus Palace, and thankfully that you're here. You know what, bro? Because I know you're a Palace fan. And we've got KC. Guess who's back? Back again. KC is back. So that's the perfect time now to introduce my guest to the show. Let me go first with Joe. How you doing, Joe? Mr. Joker.
Hoy to you. How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you. A lot better now. Not too happy that it's international break, but you know.
See, it's not too bad for you. You have a decent team to support internationally. We have a pub team.
There you go. Well, hang on, Callum. You got Callum Robinson now, so he's doing the bits.
You need a lot more than Colin Robinson, man. I can assure you.
True. And you know what is a long time subscriber to the channel. You'd have seen him in the chat as well. We got CB66. It's Wilf. How you doing, Wilf?
I'm good, Team Money. I'm good, man. How are you? Hi, Joe. How you doing?
Are you, Wilf? What's the crack?
Yeah, cool. All good, man.
Yeah, love that, man. See, look at the smiles on our faces already. Do you know what I mean? I can tell the fact that we're smiling, we're here, happy to talk about Arsenal. I'm sure if it was after the Manchester City game, I don't think that you guys would have been here, but I'm glad. Thank you for coming on, guys.
Honoured, mate. Honoured.
Yeah. And you know what?
Let me get...
Man. Nah, no worries, man. No worries. There's a bit of a lag on Joe's mic, people. So if sometimes he's talking over or I'm talking over him, then just be aware. Look at that in the chat already. We've got Moss in here. He's up in the Harry's group all the time. Hope all good. Arsenal all the way. Keep predicting draws, T. I know I did. I predicted a draw for the last game against Watford. No Champions League, but international is going to be huge this Friday. Wilf, Trevor, CV is the man. Glad to hear you guys. And do you know what? Let's start this video. And I want to start by asking you your story on supporting Arsenal. Then I'll give you mine. Those of you who are regulars on the channel who are watching this later, you'll probably know mine. But I always like hearing other people's stories. So let me start off with Joe. Joe, how did you fall in love with the mighty Arsenal?
Well, by nature, I'm a twat. I like being the awkward one in every group. So when I was growing up, all my mates and everyone I went to school with, they fell into either the United or the Liverpool, because early 90s, mid-90s, that's pretty much all there was. And then all of us got into it because of our parents or our older siblings going off. And then I probably around 96 or so, just after Wenger started, because I always have watched football with my dad and my mum. She's a Liverpool fan for 40 years. He's a City fan for 50 years. So they always have had match of the day on and the internationals. And I remember sitting down one night watching match of the day and seeing Nicholas and Elka play for the first time and thought, this guy is magic. He was just something completely different to all the other, even to what we had in the team at the time. He came in with a swagger. He had a way of putting it, like a bit of a rock star appeal about him. He came in, he had the shoulders out. He walked around like he owned the place. I thought, there's something special about this. And then I would have remembered some of the older, like the George Graham teams and a little bit in between. And then just from then I thought, right, these are the one I'm going to be. And as I said, I wanted to be awkward with all my mates. So that was it for me. Right, that's it. And then I just started from then. So that's about 95, 96 onwards. I was like, right, this is my camp. I'm an Arsenal now. I'm a gunner. And since then, I've been to a few of the games. Try to get over it, maybe once every 2 years or so, depending on availability and whatnot. But that's my camp. That's pretty much it. Like I'd like to give you a big romantic story of how it was written in the stars, but it's not. It just started out the guy wanting to wind up all his mates, and
yeah. Do you know what I like that, Joe? Because it makes a lot of sense. Because obviously, Irish Arsenal fan, Ireland. Like we got Casey here, who's from Cork, and he's a Manchester United fan. So there's one, and obviously with the Irish contingency in Liverpool, just being next to the docks. So I like that, and the fact that you said Nicholas Anelka, I can tell that you had that little bit of a rebel in you. You like to go against the crowd, so I appreciate that. And that's what this game was about. CB, Wilf, you're more local to the Arsenal than me or Joe, as we can tell.
Very much so.
So what's your story, man?
See, I got into up until about secondary school. I didn't really have a team. There was 2 teams that I liked at the time because my best friend at primary school was a Man United fan. But I always loved Arsenal because of Liam Brady, Graham Ricks, Stapleton, all those kind of guys. And then the guy who I had my first fight in the first week of secondary school with was the reason because I became a gooner. Was David Rocastle. Rocky. Yeah, that was my first fight in the first week at secondary school. And we became mates and we played in the same teams. From when we were a kid, we played Vista, played Lucian Way Boys, and stuff. And so when he was on schoolboy forms at Arsenal, he had to travel from Brockley to North London, and so we used to take it in turns to go up there with him. So went up there with him, got to go in the dressing room. He sneaked me into the manager's office. Got to go on the Highbury pitch, and I was like, "I'm a gooner, man. It's my boy." And so he's from the same estate as Wrighty. And before Wrighty played he went for Palace. He used to play for a couple of teams like 10 and B, but he also played for a team called Moonshot. And I was the keeper back then for that team as well. So that's my gooner heritage. Yes, how I became a gooner.
Wow. Now that's a story. That's better than mine, I can tell you that. With Rocky Rocastle, you know. Oh,
yeah, really good mate. Really good mate. Yeah. On the Discord, I'll see if I can pull out the old school photo, and I'll pop it on there.
Yeah, definitely, man. What a story that is! Look, we got.
You have some stories, man.
Tell me about it. Rocky Rochester wants to be a rock star. Look at that, Moss. Yeah, Rocky, Lol, No Way, Roof. Him and Michael Thomas, legendary. Bit before my time, these guys. Yeah. But trust me, I've done my research. What was it? The Broccoli, Ian Wright's documentary that he had on BT Sports YouTube?
Yeah, there's one on BT called Rocky and Wrighty, Broccoli to the Big Time.
That's the one.
Right. So our coach at Lewisham Way is one of the first guys on there speaking. And there's a mate, our other schoolmate, Roger, who's on there as well. He's the guy with the glasses. And he tells the story about when we were playing district and we lost on penalties. I was in goal. And it was, we were all crying because we lost. We got to the final and lost in penalties, and it was gutting.
Yeah. No way. So you literally have a real emotional attachment to the club in that way. I know we all do, we all do as a fan, but like that one, that's personal as well. In terms of Rocky, that's crazy, man. You see, I'm glad I asked that question after all. So into the next, into my part, and mine's not as interesting for why I'm an Arsenal fan, but basically it's because I was only in my family. I grew up in a house, single mom, and 3 sisters. I had to remember that. Make sure one of the sisters in the comments right now, and she's not the reason why I support Arsenal. Tish. Yeah. Hi, Mum. So, Mum was just walking in then waving. So basically, she was a tomboy, and she was the reason, and she fell in love with Arsenal because of Ian Wright. And someone who basically who represents us in terms of someone who's black and who was very normal and how he came about, and so that's the reason why she supported. And I had no other choice then. I had no choice but to support Arsenal. And I wasn't even that into football as a kid, as a very young child. And then what happened was I just suddenly fell in love. My first footballing memory was watching the 2006 Champions League final. I cried my eyes out.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, man.
I vaguely remember leaving Highbury. Vaguely. I think I saw it on Match of the Day. That's it. But I don't know. I may have like imprinted that in my, that might be a fake memory, Joe. And you can do that sometimes and say, oh yeah, I remember that, but you weren't really there. Yeah. But I know
what a memory.
It got me. That was so close. I mean, I truly believe had we stayed with 11 men on the pitch, we'd have won that game, hands down, no problem.
Definitely.
That was, remember that run. I think we might still hold the record for the longest time not conceding a goal in the Champions League, because I think it was throughout the knockout stage. I think we played Juventus, Real Madrid, first British team to beat them in the Bernabeu. And I think we played Villarreal as well. We didn't concede a goal. Didn't concede a goal for like 4 or 5 games, and it was just.
It's still one of the. Sorry to cut. It's still one of the dodgiest decisions ever made in a final. Sending Lehmann off in that way. The writing was on the wall then that the officials have it out for us.
Yeah.
We have to work twice as hard to get decisions. And if you want to be conspiracy theory, they had it then. They started then. I remember that being in the local watching that.
Because it was a genuine attempt for the ball, and a penalty would have been enough. It wasn't like he taken him out to stop him from scoring. He just missed the section. Cheers, darling. Thanks. Just bringing him
Oh, nice! Getting yourself all relaxed. This is where the real opinions start coming out now.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that was an amazing sight, and I remember that was after the Invincibles, and we were still that was the emergence of Fabregas, and Henry was still king, and I mean, I still believe that for a 2-year period, Henry was the best player in the world. Not just the Premier League.
Oh, hands down.
Yeah. Even Zidane said it. Even Zidane said it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And do you know what? Hearing those stories, just quickly as well. What is your first memory of? Have you been to the Arsenal? I presume you have. And what's your first memory?
Maybe 3 or 4 games.
Oh, okay, decent.
The first time I think I was ever at the Emirates was around 2008 or so. Just soon after we'd moved out of Highbury, and coming out, I can't even fully remember what match it was, but I was out with some of my mates. It was the first time I'd actually gone away as like an 18, 19-year-old with my mates, and we'd gone to, and it was just, I remember the win, but I just remember the feeling of, again, this is my people. Like, I'm here. And then the last match I actually saw was a pre-season, unfortunately, for my shame. And it was Emery's game when they came over here. So it was the one against Chelsea.
Yes.
And even though it was only a pre-season, it still felt, I know Emery's time turned sour on us, but there was still, I won't say hope, but there was still like an electric. I know it was an away crowd and everything. Like it wasn't at home, but it still felt, yes, there might be something coming on here, because like we had the end of Wenger. Everything goes up in the air after that. We were talking, what's this? And then Emery's name's pulled out of a hat, I think. And everyone's like, okay, he's won, he's mentioned PSG, he's won the Europa League a few times, but is he really the type of manager ready to bring us forward? And then seeing the pre-season games, the emergence of Guendouzi, I know, contentious point as it is, and then Leno came in, and I thought, there's something here. Like, we're going to have to carry over for Wenger. We expected the dip, but being at the Aviva for that and still thinking, yes, it's preseason, it didn't count for anything, but it was still that feeling in your bones that we might be doing something here. And then I remember the first 2 games were, they were Chelsea and City again, and really, really bad. And then the West Ham game, and it starts to turn around again. And then we went on that 22-23 game unbeaten
Yeah.
run.
Yeah,
And
that's the one.
you started to believe, as much as, there was problems in the side, but you really started to believe still. And then, well, it all went P-Tong for a while.
Yeah. I'm hoping that.
That was probably one of the worst unbeaten runs I can never remember, because we were playing awfully, but we were just banging out these wins and getting
A lot of draws. A lot of
draws, sneaking out results, but yeah, Joe, I'm with you. You felt something's happening. Something's happening.
Yeah, like someone described it to me. It's like when your favorite band changes their lineup or something, and you're tentative about it, and yet you still go, there's still a hit or two there. It's not the way it used to be. They're playing this a little differently, but you still feel it. And then, like I said, it's a sour note, and that's the way, without digressing too much, I think most people have an unpleasant thought now. They get a bad taste in their mouth and think of Emery's time. I don't think it was that bad. Yes, it went awful. It went bone near the end. But there were periods of time there where there was fight in the team. And that's something that was gone under the ends. I don't mean
North London derby. The North London North London derby.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah. There was certainly throughout. I felt like. What was you going to say, Joe?
No, continue, sir.
Oh, what I felt was, in terms of that, the players did try. And the players did give their all for a lot of it. Even towards the end, where we saw the 2-2 draw with Southampton, it just felt like they had a lack of direction towards the end when the players really needed it. But because when you come in, I think the transition from Emery to Wenger wasn't so much of a bad one, because with Arsene Wenger's laissez-faire attitude in management, allowing the players to have that freedom to attack, and then Emery was kind of a good little middle ground between a tactician and that. Whereas Arteta, if I think you'd have had Arteta in between that from the complete transition, it might have been too much of a jump from rigid and we have to attack in this way from into that. So yeah, guys, so basically what we're going to do, people, for the people in the chat listening and wondering, get your comments in, keep them firing in. Want to hear your thoughts as well, because we got a lot of non-Arsenal fans in the chat too. So I want to hear your thoughts on the players, manager, board, goalkeeper, and because you know what, those are the ones that are usually the most realistic without the emotional side of it that me, Joe, and Wilf will have. But yeah, I like to think that us three right here are very, very wise Arsenal fans that do take the emotion out of it from a lot of time, just from the chats that we have in the Discord server. So yeah, guys, be aware. So chuck your comments in. I'll get talking to them. And if you've got any questions for the guests, let them know for myself. But first, we're going to be talking about the players and we're going to break it in positions. So first of all, I want to ask you, Wilf, I'll start off with you. What are your thoughts on the goalkeeper situation? How impressed have you been with Aaron Ramsdale? And two, what do you think the future is for Bernd Leno?
Wow. You know what? I actually think since probably Jens Lehmann, goalkeeper-wise, we're in the best position because we've got two outstanding keepers. One is just a little bit better than the other. Ramsdale, I love him. Revolution, just a guy, the confidence. You know, when people were sort of, he's been relegated twice. I actually thought that was a good thing because he would have faced so much adversity, so much scrutiny, so much like stuff just pelted at him from on the pitch, off the pitch, and you can see it's honed his character. The fact that Leno is now the number two, and I think he's a great professional, and I think he will be fighting to get that number one spot back. And also he wants to get into the German side. So the competition can only be healthy. And I think that is a position where we haven't been in this. I can't remember the last time we were in this with two outstanding, and I'm going to say it, world-class keepers as 1 and 2.
Seaman and Taylor.
Yeah,
That's the last time I can think of.
There you go. That was the last time.
And that's not yesterday, the day before. That's a long
that was
time
the
ago
last
now.
time. Yeah. Who was the Austrian guy? Meninga. That was another one where we had 2 really good keepers, and it can only benefit the club. It can only benefit the club because Ramsdale is that how he seems. He's got that little bit of arrogance, that little bit of every game he gets bigger and in that goal to a striker when they're bearing down. Man United keeper, Big Dane, he was a Seaman. They got in people's minds. So when a striker's bearing down, it's not just, oh, it's a keeper. It's like, I'm facing Seaman, I'm facing Schmeichel. That's in your head. And that is what Ramsdale is doing game to game. And that, again, can only benefit us.
Yeah, definitely. I do concur with that a lot. I can't really add much more to that. But Joe, what do you think? So do you think that Leno does have a future here? Do you think that it's viable that Ramsdale and Leno can both compete for that same number 1 spot? Or
well, I'll put my hands up right now. I was not a detractor of Ramsdale, but I hadn't done enough research. And when I saw his name coming out, I immediately thought the relegations. And I thought, like, look at the amount of shots he faced. But I did my research and other channels and information, people are telling me things. And I thought, well, even if he's not like, right at the top now, Leno is still a very, very, very capable keeper. And Ramsdale could be an understudy to him, could learn, and then in 3 or 4 years' time, hand over the position. Leno goes off, and then we have a late 20s, perfect keeper. And I've just been blown away by how professional he is, and just he looks happy. Do you know what I mean? Like he's still, even though he's a professional and he's been at clubs before, you see him when he's in the goal, and you see him in the press box, and he's a smile from ear to ear. Like even if he's not a gunner at heart, he loves the fact that he's been here, and that is such a nice thing to see. Like we've had players from different positions coming out of the last 10 years that you knew they were just lying in their pockets, or you got that feeling. But Ramsdale, you get the feeling he wants to be pinched every moment, like, I'm here. And he's just so big-hearted for it. Brilliant. Leno, I still have no doubts about. Yes, he's had a few shaky moments. He got what I call Sanchez-itis a little bit, where he probably, that season under Emery, even last season, in some games, like, Leno carried us through certain games, and he probably got a bit of burnout from that. Having the 2 of them now compete, really good. All the best teams have competition at every position. Keepers, you want to be a bit more consistent, because even though you don't have that big a field to move around, you still need to get your position on and get your feet into it. So I think there will be a bit competition. I think the best thing Leno can do probably at the end of the season is, even if he doesn't want to fight first place, he will generate us a nice big transfer fee. And how many players have we seen go for absolutely nothing? Like, we're literally paying them to get out the door. Leno, even if he can't provide in the stick between the sticks anymore, he will be worth a fee to us, and that can only help. So I'm happy to see them fighting. I think Ramsdale has it, especially when he's the 2nd youngest keeper in the league. He's one of the 3 youngest top flight keepers I can think of in Europe, and he just has the heart of a lion. Not to cliche it too much, but I'm delighted with him. I'm happy to say I was wrong to distract him at the start.
I think the edge he has over Leno is his command of the back 4 and his presence there. Leno is an amazing keeper. You don't get into the German squad if you're not a good keeper, and they've got a history of good keepers. But that's what gives Ramsdale the edge, is that his back 4 know where he is. They know what he wants, and he's that presence that I think Leno was lacking. And I totally agree with you, Joe. People forget Leno got us through some hard times with some outstanding saves. I mean, I look back on the one he made against Spurs at Wembley.
Yes, it's all cold.
Yeah, the guys, people forget he's still an awesome keeper, and I saw someone put up a thing about letting Martinez go, but he wanted to go. We had a world-class keeper. We got a good bunch of change for him, and it paved the way for Ramsdale. I mean, I would take Ramsdale over Martinez or Leno any day. And had Martinez stayed, we wouldn't be in this position. So,
yeah, I think what you
No,
can
if you think about.
no, go, Joe.
Sorry, I was going to say, just regards to Martinez, you have a small sample size. Yes, he was immense for us, and he definitely helped. But between himself and Oba, they more or less delivered us that FA Cup, and obviously gave Arteta a nice, sweet finish to his first 6 months. But that was it. He had those 6 months. He had a spattering of appearances in between, and he never exactly set the place alight when he was covering. He got his chance. He took it with both hands. So,
yeah.
But he got us, 20 million, which we wouldn't have got Partey for otherwise. So I don't think we made a mistake. No. Honestly, balance of time. I think we made the right decision.
Yeah, exactly. And hindsight's a wonderful thing now, because that's the big point that you raised there. That 20 million, we needed to sell him because we needed the money at that point in time. It was with the pandemic, the market, it was very volatile at that moment in time. People didn't want to take the risk financially because we didn't know how long we'd be in that situation for. And because of the losses that we've made by not being in the Champions League, we had a Champions League wage budget, but you're barely even Europa League players. So that was a big thing. And the other thing was he wanted to be a starter. And he wanted that guaranteed, which you couldn't do that. As Joe said, the sample size, we didn't have enough to say, okay, we're willing to put all our eggs in the Martinez basket. And with what I'm seeing now from Ramsdale, he has. Obviously he's younger, so he's got more potential to grow. And from what I've seen from him, the development in his game, the biggest aspect, Wilf, you said his presence. That is huge, because that's the big. I think there's two: his presence in collecting crosses and in the box, but two, the distribution. Burnley, that goal is engraved in my head, and I said from then it was Leno, even though a lot of people were blaming Xhaka. But Leno was a part of the Ceballos goal against Olympiacos as well, putting him under pressure in pressurized situations there. And Ramsdale isn't perfect at that, by the way. I've seen him give the ball away in at times, but when it's right and when it works, he set us on the counter attack so many times. And Martinez was a safer option, but I don't think he had that range like Ramsdale does. I remember the goals that we scored in the FA Cup where Martinez was a part of it, but he was better at playing the short passes quicker. I don't think he necessarily had the range that Ramsdale does, playing it into the Aubameyang on a sixpence like that. So, yeah, that's the goalkeepers. We've got on here Arthur Okonkwo, Carl Hine, but they've not made any appearances for the club yet. So into the defenders now. What are your thoughts? Joe, we'll start with you on this one. And in particular, I want you to talk about the settled... Because recent weeks, Tavares or Nuno Tavares, he's been playing, but the likes of Tomiyasu, Gabriel, Ben White, what is most what have you been most impressed by those three players in particular?
Confidence. They seem they have cohesion. I'm old enough, and Wilf, you're older than me, to remember some great Arsenal defences. And then some colander defences that the opposition looked at them and they came to pieces. We've had a problem since probably, I think the last really solid defender we had was, especially centre-back, was Koscielny. And since then, we've had a revolving door of some coming in, some coming out. And we had, half a team's worth of defenders there for a while, and you wouldn't put your faith in any of them. But now, I know Tomiyasu's only here a week. He's here, 3 months now? And he just slotted in. Yes, it's his first time in the league. It's his first time in England. But he is just slotted in like a duck to water. Really, really confident. People detract from the fact that he's not that great going forward. But he's a defender. Going forward is just a bonus to what he's supposed to be doing. We didn't hire a wing back. We hired a full back. and he's tall, he's confident. And if he worked in Serie A. I know it might be a little lower down across consistent teams, but he had Ronaldo in his pocket for more than months. That says something for him. Nuno Tavares, on the other hand, is just the surprise of the season. If we're blown away by Ramsdale, Nuno has come in like a bat out of hell. He's 21 and he just charges at you. Confidence on the ball. Yeah, he had one or two shaky moments, but everyone think about a new job. Everyone settles into a new job a little slower, but he has just been immense. Ben White and Gabriel. I was concerned about the price we were paying for Ben White, especially when you had Saliba, Mari, and Holding. Yes, they weren't great at the start of this season, but they were very reliable at the end of last season. And I still hold Holding as a good 7 out of 10 consistent centre back. But we have a defence now which we can actually put faith in. We can go, well, we might not score goals, but we're not going to concede goals. When was the last time either of you can remember a time where, okay, well, we can afford to sit back a little and absorb pressure because we have the defenders to do it. We have a ball-playing centre-back and we have a bruiser centre-back. And they change. Like Ben White can get in amongst us and Gabriel can do nice little touches and show a bit of skill. Defence is something that has been our Achilles heel. It's been the joke that they've made about Arsenal for as long as I can remember. Oh, they can score goals, but they concede just as many. Even under Emery, like we conceded 51 goals. And I know it was a little more under Arteta last year, but now we have a defence that we can build from. A defence all in their early 20s, same way Adams was, same way Winterburn was, the same way Bowles was, that you start, instead of hiring these, they'll do for now sort of defenders like Socrates. We now have a defence that we can see 5, 6, 7 years down the line that are only going to get better. What more do you want?
Exactly. Joe, you've hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah,
and Wilf, my question is to you, because Mac raises a point. I know he's not an Arsenal fan, he's a Liverpool fan. But I've been in streams and have spoken to Arsenal fans that haven't been as impressed with Ben White. What is your thoughts on that? Mac says here, Ben White is still suspect. Gabby is good, Tommy is good. I love Braveheart Tierney. We have the other Braveheart in Robbo. So what is your thoughts on Ben White in particular?
You know what? I said this on Harry's show. Ben White has been in and around the England setup. Yeah. You don't do that if you're crap. You know, everybody forgets that BW has just joined us. And the standard that he's playing at, he can only get better. And if he's playing at this standard now where someone's going, oh, well, that game he lost that one header or he didn't make that one tackle. I'm like, this is someone who's in his first season at a club like Arsenal, and like it or not, we're a huge club. You know what I mean? We're in the Big Six for a reason. All that pressure, the money and everything else, he's handled it admirably. We are, again, with the keepers, we are in a situation where we haven't had a back four like this since, you know, the Invincibles. They've settled Tommy, Ben White, Gabriel, who's still in his second season. He's not had 2 seasons last yet. We were worried about who's going to come in for Tierney when if he you know, with his injury to save his legs. Tevez, what has he done? He's come in and just gone, yeah, right, I'll sit here. Nothing, don't worry about it. I'll get it sorted. We've got a back four now. You look at our record. We're undefeated in 7, 8 games. Yeah, we've got like 4 or 5 clean sheets. 4 or 5 clean sheets, and everybody keeps going, "Oh, who have we played?" We're in the Premier League. No easy games. With all due respect, with probably Norwich, there are no easy games. Everybody's got a team. Everybody's got strikers. Everybody can score goals. You've seen it, you know. So whoever we play is someone. Brighton, Palace, you know, even Burnley. Burnley took a point off Chelsea. We've played people, and they've stood up to the test. You know what I mean? So I have no problem with our back four, and the fact that Tevez has come in and Tierney's going to have to earn his place back, which, you know, he's a great professional and he will. Again, it's what you want going forward. You want competition in every position. People are quite hard on Holding and Murray and whatever, but we need a squad. They will come in and do a job. Yeah, no, long term, they'll cost us games. But when we need them, they'll step up. Holding has proved it in the past, from that FA Cup against Chelsea till before. Pablo Mari, he's rated for a reason. No, they're not first choice, but you need a squad. And we've got a set of defenders now that, with the exception of maybe Man City and Liverpool and Chelsea, they're up there with any of the best defenders in the Premier League. So we can't complain.
I agree with that.
And
as
like
a collective,
like Joe said, this could go on for the next 6-7 years. So we're sitting pretty defensively. We're sitting that five.
Yeah, and that's how I look at when I look at a defense. I don't look at the individuals like how some fans may do it. You can't look at that, especially in the centre back. In the best partnerships, the best centre backs that we've seen in the world, they've always had a good partner. You can't have one centre back that's decent and then the other, that's below par. Yes, there's different levels. Like if you look at Liverpool, I think they're struggling this season because of other reasons, like in the midfield. But with Liverpool at their best, is Matip and Van Dijk. When Matip's fit, he's one of the best centre-backs in the league. And then he's got Van Dijk, he's one of the best centre-backs we've ever seen in football. Ferdinand and Vidic for United fans. See, we're not just going to talk about United currently.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ferdinand and Vidic, players of a similar quality and level. And that's what it is. You can't... Centre-back's always about partnerships for me. When I've played, even at a much lower level than this, I'm only as good. I can only be a good defender if I can have that relationship. If my other defender can cover for my flaws. And I think Gabriel and Ben White do that tremendously. We know how aggressive Gabriel can be going in for the challenge. And Ben White is much more of a reader of the game who intercepts. We saw for the goal that Smith Rowe scored the other day.
Yeah.
He read that. He was aggressive then. He stepped in front. He read the situation. And I think he's a better passer of the ball. He's not as good as in the air as Gabriel, but that's okay when you've got someone who's aerially dominant as Gabriel in the air. So, and then as you was talking about with Rob Holding, Pablo Mari, I think they are perfect squad players in terms of, at this current moment in time, maybe if we get into the Champions League, then we need to look at someone like Saliba and then of the level there. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So, yeah, and with Saliba as well, just quickly, just to finish up on the defenders, Joe, and then you can talk about this as well, Wilf. Do you see a future for Saliba at this under Mikel Arteta?
Do you want the good answer or the honest answer?
We'll take the good. I'm joking. Just the honest one. I'm not liking the sound.
I think we will sell him. If he continues, yes, I know he had a howler against Lazio in the Champions League, but he's a 21-year-old centre-back in the Champions League. You can forgive him a mistake or two. I think if he continues on the path he is with Marseille, we're going to sell him for a whopping big check. It's sad that he's never going to play for us, and I want to be proven wrong. I hope I can be proven wrong. Anyone has a magic ball, please pass it on. But I think we'll sell him at the end of the day. There's something about him and Arteta. Oil and water just don't get along. Yes, Arteta is young, and when you're in management, especially if you're young doing it, you will rub off against people who may not have had the people management skills to deal with Saliba, with Guendouzi, with Torreira, with the rest of them. But I think as long as Arteta's in place, unless something drastic changes, PSG are going to come in, Bayern are going to come in, and we're going to go, yes, please, stick 50 million in there and profit a nice pile of change. I'd like to be proven wrong, but I just don't see it happening.
Wilf, can you give Joe some light?
I don't know. I in light of what Saliba has been saying in the past, and he seems to have come around and probably matured a little bit. I actually think there is a future for him with Arsenal if he wants it. But either way, it's a win-win for Arsenal. We sell him for an extortionate amount of money, or he comes in and we've got 3 world-class centre-backs. So whatever happens, I don't think it really matters. But I do think he will be looking, especially if we get into a European competition next year. Saliba will go, actually, I can go to Arsenal, a huge club, and if I don't like it, I can make my name for myself and move on. And I think he will like the challenge. I do see a place for him there, and I also see that it's a win-win for us, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, for me, I agree with you. I do think that he has a future, and my reason is Joe. I think with Saliba, he's not actually had that many appearances under his belt, professional league games. He came in very early at Saint Etienne, and even then he picked up a couple of injuries. When we signed him, he came in at that second half of the season. We signed him in that summer following on, and then sent him back on loan. That was the only way that we could get Saliba confirmed, because he was linked with Spurs and other top clubs as well. But other top clubs, Spurs aren't up there, but he was linked with Spurs and other top clubs. So with Saliba, I think that Arteta is really trying to manage this player as more not for what he can bring on the pitch, but the mental side of football, because of the tragedies that he had within his family at a very young age. And you could see how he was coming out in interviews talking about wanting a chance and really kind of sulking. That I don't think he was mentally ready for Arsenal, for the stature, the pressure that is on at Arsenal. For a centre-back, if you make a mistake, it most likely leads to a goal. And he would get slated. And in that current Arsenal team, I'm probably giving Arteta a bit too much faith and confidence when I say this here. I think Arteta saw the potential cracks that we could have defensively, which showed in that November-December period. And throwing Saliba under that limelight and pressure, that could have broken him at that point in time. So I think that Arteta does trust him and does see his ability, but he's really trying to mould him. And now he's out of the spotlight. As you said, Joe, that mistake he made against Lazio, if he'd done that at Arsenal, even if it's against Watford, people will pick up on that. Look at the treatment Ben White gets for, he's not as good as you think, But that's the biggest factor. And I think that he will. I think that Arteta will give him an opportunity. And he may, and with next season, with European football, if we make it, there's an opportunity right there, because I do believe that either Rob Holding or Pablo Mari will go and will leave in the summer. So that is his opportunity then. And I see an opportunity for Ben White in him to be rotated. We also know that Gabriel is prone to picking up an injury too. And for example, Gabriel has been called up for the Brazilian national team. There'll be times where Gabriel will be coming back late, and then we will have to rely upon Saliba because of those situations. So that's for me. I do see a future with Saliba. Is there anything that you want to add to that, Joe or Wilf?
No, you think you said it? You said it all. You can't, with 3 centre backs. I mean, the best teams in the world, even Man City's and Liverpool's.
Yeah, Konate.
They've got more than 2 centre backs, more than 2 world class centre backs. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
definitely, guys, we spent a long time on defenders, so we might have to speed us a bit through. No, I've enjoyed that though. Thank you very much for your input. It was a good debate we had about Saliba then. So midfielders now, and into the midfielders. I think we can only talk about one man at this moment in time. The one who's just been called up for England, Emil Smith-Rowe. Who did I start with last time? I started with you, Joe, didn't I? So, Wilf, thoughts on Emile Smith-Rowe's call-up and his fantastic start to the season with goals and assists?
Be honest, I've never heard of the guy. I think he's just awesome.
He's from around your bits as well, man.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is, like, his call-up is down to just rewards. I mean, how many, was he 20, 21? How many 21-year-old midfielders are better than him at the moment? You know, everything's been asked of him. He's stepped up and he's done. I've heard Harry say, oh, he needs to score more goals. So what has he done? He's scored more goals. He needs to change his lifestyle. What has he done? He's changed his lifestyle. We need to see more from you on the pitch. He's done that. He's just the Haaland boys are just doing it. You know, he's loving it. He's having the time of his life, and it shows. There's no more I can say about it than him. He's a gooner through and through. Him and Saka, they're gooners through and through, and it comes out their pores when they're on the pitch. You know what I mean? They're chasing back, they're harrying, they're running him with the ball. If he makes a mistake, it doesn't play on his mind, and he's back again. He's at people, and he's a nightmare to play against at the moment. You know, in the Grealish mode, and Man City had to pay 100 million for Grealish. How much have we paid for Smith-Rowe? And he's got a higher ceiling, or as high a ceiling. So, you know, that's all I can say about the guy.
There you go. Look, as Max says right there, ESR better than Scamcho. But Joe, for you now, I wanted to ask you about Smith-Rowe as well. I want to hear your thoughts on Smith-Rowe. And did you think that he would? Did you have the confidence that he would be able to add the goals and assists into his game, given what we saw last season? And is he outshining Saka at this moment in time?
I didn't think he'd have as many goals already. I knew a little bit about him from when he was in the youth setup, and then when he went off to, I think it was Leipzig, and he had his turn in Huddersfield. One of my friends is very good into Bundesliga, so he follows all the youth players. So he told me about him maybe 18 months ago or so. So I knew a little bit about him, and then I saw a few bits and pieces in the Europa League fixtures. I thought, there's something here. Yes, he was slight, and he did run around a little bit more. Like, he's a little loose on the ball, but you saw that spark there. And now he gets his call up, as Will said, it is just desserts. Like, the guy is brilliant. He is one of the most smiling examples of what this youth project is for our team. And he never gives up. I've never seen him duck his head. Even last year with the semi-final debacles, he'd been having to play as a makeshift centre forward. Completely alien territory to him, but he still went at it. He hasn't ever looked lost. He hasn't ever looked out of his depth, and he just keeps going forward and forward. I'm not being overly ambitious here, but he could be another £100 million player for us in a couple of years. I don't want to see him sold, but this is something I think about our Arsenal setup as opposed to previous years. Even if we have to sell players, we have players of value. So even if we can't hold on to them, they can do more for the club if we have to sell them on. He is just, he's something special. He really is. As you said, he is our Saka of this year. Saka was the breakout star last year. Smith-Rowe will be the breakout star this year. Maybe someone like Saladin will be the breakout star next year. Maybe it'll be Hutchison. But as you both said, Haaland is back where it should be, as it is not the top within the top 3 rated academies in the world, if not in the country. Like, I get chills thinking of him.
I'm with you, Joe, all the way, mate.
Same, exactly. And then, do you know what? I also want to bring on someone else who's come from Haaland Academy, who played on the weekend. And I'm gonna bunch these guys in together, and I want to see, like, what do you think? Do you think these three can work? So I'm going to say Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who came in, had a fantastic performance against Watford. Surprised me. I had a lot of doubts about Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Could he play in that midfield position for Arsenal? He started his career very well in midfield when he played against Manchester United in that 2-1 defeat. I remember that one. He got man of the match in that one, even though we lost 2-1. Fellaini, 90th minute. Sambi Lokonga and Thomas Partey. Do you guys see? We'll start off with you again, Joe. We'll throw this one back at you. Do you see Ainsley Maitland-Niles being a part, and do you think that we will need to make that signing in January if Ainsley Maitland-Niles can continue this level of performance?
I still think we need the signing anyway. Better to have the players and not need them than the opposite way around. But I've really, really been impressed by Ainsley. Really. I remember him win the FA Cup and that's left back and under Emery. Sorry, right back under Emery. And he was young, but he never, he made a mistake, but he never looked out of his depth. He always came for it. And then there was the thing, he got very little minutes last year. He went off to West Brom for the second half of the season. The whole interview Sam did afterwards, telling us basically you play where you're told or go find another career. And he has all the stuff over the summer, even the days leading up to transfer window, he made those Instagram posts. I would question whether that was him or was more of his agent in his ear, sort of twisting him. But he's done what he's been asked to do, and he has shown himself to be an absolute professional. If he has a long-term future with Arsenal, I don't know. But while he's here, he is putting on the badge and he's playing for us every minute. So credit to the lads. Being a bit shaky with regards to the off-the-field stuff and contract stuff and his very public interviews and whatnot. But when he's on the pitch, he has done it and he's been a credit to himself.
Definitely. And do you know what, Wilf? I'm going to throw this part to you. Do you see us for at least until the summer, because I do think that we need to sign someone in that central midfield position, but until the summer, all hoping and praying that Granit Xhaka comes back. Do you think Granit Xhaka and Ainsley Maitland-Niles could be a good backup/rotation option for the likes of Sambi Lokonga and Thomas Partey, or do you think we need to sign someone in Jan?
Definitely. I mean, I'm not a Xhaka fan. He's a very good player. Don't get me wrong, he's a very good player, but can't always trust him. But when he's on his game, he's on his game. And with Sambi, Partey, Ainsley Maitland-Niles and Xhaka, we can weather the storm until the summer. I'm actually hoping that even in that if we can steal someone in January, would be lovely. But yeah, without a doubt, and I totally agree with Joe with Ainsley Maitland-Niles. On the pitch, he's been nothing but professional. He's got growing up to do, like all our young players. They've got growing up to do, and he's learning fast and furiously. I think we could, with Xhaka coming back, we can last till the summer transfer window with the midfield that we got.
Yeah, but it's a bit of a tricky one, because if Ainsley does keep his form, Mainsley, as Tom has, that's where it really got there from Tom. Mainsley, I do think that we could survive, because we've got that in particular the AFCON international break where we will be missing Thomas Partey and Aubameyang and Pepe as well. I forgot Pepe. So yeah, I think that will be interesting. And Ainsley Maitland-Niles, as we miss Partey in the weekend, against that level of opposition, I think he'll be fine. But in that AFCON break, we're going to be playing Spurs and Man City, if I believe. Am I correct? Yeah. And neither of those teams have. Do Man City? No, I don't think any of them will have any key players missing due to AFCON. So that's going to be tough. That's going to be a very tough period there. But let's move on into the forwards, and I will go into another midfielder who was one of our signings, but there's a little part, and I think that I'll speak about him, and you guys may agree, in Martin Ødegaard. We'll come to him a bit later. But in terms of the forwards, I just wanted to ask you about Aubameyang, and there's been a lot of links with Dusan Vlahovic in that he may be coming in January. However, what do you guys see? So we'll start off with you, Wilf. What do you see? How long left do we have Aubameyang, in your opinion? Like, how long do we see him performing at Arsenal?
Right. Over at his peak, probably another season, 2 seasons, because he's getting on. I think last year was a blip. He had a lot going on. He had malaria. He had family issues. He had, we were in lockdown. The guy's human. The guy is human. And you've seen the way him and Laka have performed so far this season. They're still hungry. They're still in there with a shout, and they take it seriously playing for Arsenal. So I think we've got at least another season with Oba as he is if we don't sell him. And Jovic, if we can get him on loan with an option to buy, do it.
Is that Luka Jovic you're on about?
Luka Jovic. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Get him. Real Madrid don't want him. We lucked out with Odegaard. Definitely get him. I can't see anything wrong with it. Jesus mustard. Do the deal. But yeah, I think people have been hard on Oba because every mistake he makes is he's lost it. No. Look how the guy's been playing. You know what I mean? Even when he's made mistakes, he's still going in there. He's still chasing down. He's still putting the effort in. The man wants to play. Everybody has a bad game. Yeah, nothing wrong with him.
And what about you, Joe? What is your thoughts on Aubameyang? I see you smiling there. So, do you agree, or and I'm going to throw this in a hypothetical world? Who would you, if you could keep one and sell the other, Aubameyang and Lacazette? Who would that be?
Lack is straight out the door for me. I'm not going to speak bad of him. He's done well, but we can't have two 30-plus centre forward strikers, and I think my thing with Oba and with Laka is we brought them, I think, at the wrong time in the scale of history, that we didn't have the quality of surrounding team to fully utilise them. Now we do, and unfortunately time has caught up with both of them. I fully agree with last year was a blip, but the thing is he was 31 and still had that turn of pace and he had a blip. Now he's working his socks off. I can't say a bad thing about his effort, but I think it's a case of diminishing returns. That the longer we go on, age is going to catch up to him, and there's no fault of the guy. It's just natural fact. I would definitely say that I'm selling Laka because I think he's working. We're not going to get anything for him, and he's done well for the club, but we need to move on. You mentioned Luka Jovic. If we getting him on loan with an option would be perfect. I know some people say it should be a rebuild process for him, but a loan and an option, there's no risk for us. Why not? If he turns out brilliantly, then we pocket another world-class, potentially returning world-class centre forward for 22 million, maybe 22, 23 million.
Yeah.
Masterstroke. With regards to Oba, I think this will be his last season just because the speed of the game and the exertion needed for the Premier League is probably a bit more than he can handle playing week in, week out as he's getting into 33. Like, it'll be 33 in the summer, I believe. Maybe a slightly slower league next year, but while he's here, he's working his socks off, and he is, historically, over the last 10 years, he's not up there Messi, Ronaldo, but he's like grade 2. If they were the top 2-tier strikers in the world, he was up there with Lewandowski as number 1 and number 2 for that second tier. I feel on the whole, we just got him when we didn't have a good enough team around him at the time to fully utilise him. Like, we the team now and a 29-year-old Oba, we tear the place.
Yeah, definitely. Oh man, I agree. I feel like we've always been like that though in recent seasons. We've always been that little bit too late. Ozil, I thought that happened with Sanchez, even Cazorla. Do you know what I mean? We've always been that step too late, and we've always been, and that's it's getting me emotional just thinking about that. Yeah. But do you know what, guys? Because we've missed a few players, in particular, Odegaard, Martinelli, and Pepe. But I think we'll dive into them a little bit more. But I'm a bit conscious of time because you know what, you guys, you might be busy, so I'm trying to get through as many topics as possible. So quickly, we'll start off with you, Wilf. Player of the season so far.
Oh, tough one. It's a toss up between two, ESR and Ramsdale, and I'm gonna give it to Ramsdale just only because everybody was like, "Why are we buying him?" Whatever, and he's just and the save and the distribution, everything that we've gone through before, just over ESR. But it's so tight. It's a hair's breadth between the two of them. But I'd give it to Ramsdale. Just.
Yeah. Joe, what about yourself? And would you throw Gabriel in there?
I completely agree with Will with regards to, you said everything I was going to say in regards to Ramsdale. The abuse and the detractors he had before he came in, and he has just turned up and shut up everybody who said a bad thing about him. And remember, he's 23. He is only going to get better. So him, ESR, I'd say Ben White has also turned in, Lakonga's turned in. We have a generosity of potential players of the season. When's the last time we had that?
Never. Saka was the only one last season, and Bon Mall. So yeah, man, I think that's a good one. And a bit more on I've worded this in a way. I'm not going to say disappointment, but I said player we need to see more from. So with the likes of Ødegaard, Joel, we'll start off with you on this one. Is Ødegaard up there for different reasons to Martinelli or Pepe? Those are the top three, really. Unless you have someone else.
I'd like to see more from Ødegaard, but I understand he's not getting into the team now because of Laka. The thing about Ødegaard is when you see him at the national level, he bosses it. Like, he walks on and he is the captain of that team. And when you have someone like Holland and there's a few more experienced players, a 22-year-old who they all look to basically, he's the gaffer. What do we do? You know, way Cruyff used to play for the Netherlands. He'd come on, the whole team would ignore the manager and look at him and go, Johan, what are we doing? That's the way the Norwegian national level team looked for Ødegaard. I think that's what we just need to see a bit more of him. I don't think he was a bad purchase at all. I think he's going to turn out to be an absolute gem for us. Pepe, I think Pepe's race is run. He still can contribute something for us, but unfortunately, I don't think Pepe was ever he was always going at that price tag through no fault of his own. So unless he was hitting 50 goals a season, he was never going to be good enough for the majority of fans. And it's unfortunate. It's not fair to the guy. But I think he was a hype signing. He was an appeasement signing by the Kroenkes and by Con Raoul to basically get some of the abuse and get some of the heat off the fans. We bought a world-class counter-attacking footballer to be in a potentially possession-based team. It's, oil and water again. And Martinelli just isn't specialised enough yet, I think. I would like to see him maybe move into a centre forward, because as a winger, he's down the pecking order. Yes, he's still young, and he had a great breakout. Then he had the injuries, but he's not doing enough now to break in. And when he does get his chance, you can say he is like ring rust. You can see he's a bit shaky getting back on his feet. So of all of them, I think Ødegaard is the one who has to show more, but because he can give more.
Definitely. And throwing that right back at you, Will, out of those three, unless you have someone else you want to mention.
Ødegaard, we will see the best of him. We don't need to rush him back because we've got players like Laka and in that position. He's immense. To be captain of Norway at his age is sick. Pepe, I still think there is more to come from him. People are a little harder on him than they should be. But he got 10 goals and a number of assists last season. He's an attacking threat, and he will be, and he's still learning the game. With Martinelli, I put him in the same vein as Phil Foden, because people were gasping for Foden. Come through, play him. Pep held him back, let him learn. And I think Martinelli's in that same boat. I just think there's a conversation going on between Arteta and Martinelli that is in that same Foden and Pep mode. So I have no worries on there. But probably Ødegaard. Actually, no. Pepe is who I'd like to see more, because when he does what he does, and he can do, he's destructive. He's a wrecking ball. I'd like to see more of him. I'd like to see more consistency. But I have no worries with all three.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, just quickly on that one, out of all of them, realistically, who I'd like to see more of is from the manager playing more would be Ødegaard. But I think the fitness issues has been his problem. I think when he gets injured, it takes a lot out of his game because of that pressing that he does. That's his biggest aspect of his game. And when he gets injured and he's not able to press as much, I really noticed that in the Crystal Palace game in particular. And I was like, something's not quite right with Ødegaard here, given obviously how he pressed against. I think it was actually the Brighton game before the international break, where he pressed against Spurs, and then I saw the drop off from there, and I wasn't too impressed. And I thought that something's not right. So, but from more of individually, it would be Pepe. But I just, as you said, Wilf, about the Martinelli, I do think that he's kind of moulding him a little bit as well, even though the fan base is out there crying out for him, rightly so, because of what we've seen from him. But he's still a bit raw. I remember the Leeds game in particular. He's still running around a little bit like a headless chicken, and didn't quite. There wasn't any methodology, if that's a word, into his attack and into how he was trying to cause problems. It's a bit chaos with Martinelli, and that's what he thrives off. So if he can really mold his game, iron out those creases and get those rough edges smoother, I think he'll be fine. And that pressing style and how he is will just be a threat. I remember this is Arteta actually highlighted this to Kevin De Bruyne just before Arteta came at the Arsenal, when he spoke about the only person that we worry about in terms of the press is Martinelli. After we lost 3-0. And they scored within the opening minutes. And I remember Martinelli in the opportunity in that game, he nearly scored just from pressing Man City players. So he definitely adds that factor. And I think that there will be times later on into the season where we'll rely upon him. We have got 2 more topics that I wanted to talk about, but I'm just conscious of time. So I'll skip that. And guys, you're more than welcome to come back on and talk about Arsenal. I'd like to talk a lot more about Arteta, Edu, and the Kroenkes, but we'll move on into the objectives for this season. So, Joe, what are your minimum objectives for Arsenal this season, and what is the highest you can possibly see us achieving?
I've said since the start of the season, I'm perfectly happy if we make sixth and winning the League Cup, or making the League Cup final even. That would have me delighted as a fan. I know some people might say, I hate this term, accepting mediocrity. But at the end of the day, look, we're rebuilding. It's an incremental growth. We don't have the money to throw at and say there's 300 million, build a new title winning team. It's going to have to be a slow burn, the same way it was for Leicester, the same way it was for Liverpool. And I think one of the biggest faults we've had is we have had success. We've won FA Cups, we've won Community Shields, we've made it into cup finals, but we've never pushed on. We've actually gone backwards. We've never used those platforms to go forward. I think if sixth is back into, I know it's only the Europa League, but as you alluded to earlier, depth is one of the problems. Do we really have a second team yet for Champions League? It could just be, in my opinion, a bridge just too far. And if we want to be back to where we are, we have to be consistently jumping into the Champions League at the end of this season, and then getting hockeyed in the group stages, and then running with our tail between our legs back into 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th place, whatever. That's not what I want from my team. So I'm happy to take it slowly. 6th and the League Cup, because we haven't won it in 23 years. I don't remember winning this one. I was 5 when last time we won it. And the last 3 times we've been in the League Cup final, it's just been embarrassing. So if we are trying to fully build for future, one of the things is to have to go back and undo past mistakes. Win the League Cup, win the FA Cup. I'd say win the Europa League more so than the top 4 now, just because it's a European trophy we don't have. And people say, well, we're above it. If we haven't cracked it, we're not above it. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, definitely. And you kind of put me in a bit of a check there as well, because I was like, you know what, maybe we could make the top 4. And maybe we could. I'm starting to get that little bit. I think that's the emotion kicking in again, guys, as an Arsenal fan. But now you said that, I think it's too far of a jump. and to really not even be competing in the Champions League, just to not get battered and then compete in the Premier League to get top 4 again. We'd need a lot. We need basically another squad, I believe, because I don't think the depth is quite there yet. We're going to be losing a lot of players too. So we're going to be losing the likes of Laka. We don't know what's going to happen. But Eddie's going to be leaving too. Centre backs and then midfielders is already light already. If Ainsley doesn't get the amount of game time that he wants, it's going to be difficult, and we're going to have to make more signings. And I don't see us doing that quite yet. I feel like in terms of the strategy, it's more to sign players about 1 or 2 players now. That will just make that little bit of a difference, and we'll slowly get there. So, in terms of you, Wilf, what about yourself? What is your objectives? Is it more along the lines, or are you a bit more optimistic?
I
think Champions League.
I've got two objectives. One is heart, one is head. My heart, yeah. We're challenging for the title, because if West Ham will be up there, we can go on a run and whatever and win the FA Cup. My head, and realistically, anything above top 6 is lovely, bonus, and it would show massive improvement and would shut up a lot of the doubters. Hearing Joe, I actually think top 4 could be detrimental, and like you both said, because we haven't got the squad. Don't get me wrong, I'd still love it, but I think it would stunt us a little bit. But yeah, anything 6 and above, and for me, FA Cup, and a top 6 finish or above. The only reason I mean, I've seen 2 League Cup wins, and also that's the last thing the Spuds won. So yeah, don't get me wrong. If we win it, I'll be cheering like the rest of them. But I genuinely would go a good cup run, like a final, League Cup final, or go into the depths of the FA Cup final, to the FA Cup, competition, and a top 6 finish. That's where I realistically think we should be aiming for and could be aiming for. Yeah, that's my thing. Top 6 finish, and I'd take semi-final of the FA Cup or final of the League Cup.
There you go. I hope so. I hope that we do. I hope we do get there. For me, in terms, I'm going to put a proper objective in now. I want an FA Cup. I wouldn't mind going to the League Cup and winning that, actually, because I think that's probably more viable now, because Manchester City are out and Tottenham and West Ham, they're facing each other, and one of them is going to have to go out too. And I think that we could beat any of Chelsea or Liverpool on our day. Especially in the cup, because Liverpool's squad depth is an issue for them too, and they like to rotate a lot of their players. And we beat them last season when we didn't have a great squad either. So there is that possibility. So I do want the FA Cup though. 15. I want number 15 there. I know we're on 14 now with Aubameyang's number, Thierry Henry, that famous number 14, and it's the most out of any other team in the FA Cup. But yeah, man, I just want to extend that. I want to make it further. I want to regain our dominance on that competition. And for me, in terms of the league...
Can I just clarify?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to clarify. Any other year, I'm all for the FA Cup. It's just this year, because we have such a young squad and it is Project Rebuild, the League Cup is over at the end of February.
True,
that gives us 11 home games, no Champions League to worry about, no European games to worry about. We can do some serious damage if we have a fit squad, and if we bring in 1 or 2, even loan reinforcements during January, provided we don't get hit with COVID or anything. We can really, really go forward with those 11 games. And
it's a trophy.
Your distractions. Exactly.
And it's the trophy.
What did we get into football for?
Yeah, it's a trophy exactly the same as the FA Cup. I know it gets disregarded, but that's mainly because of Manchester City always winning it. But yeah, it just shows how competitive, how hard it really is to win, because a team like Manchester City, who have the best squad in the league, it shows that you're obviously a good side to win it. So I would take it, actually, and it's a different trophy. I've never seen us lift that. So yeah, you've convinced me there, Joe, actually. But you know what, guys? We're going to wrap this up there. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, CB. Appreciate that. Guys, let them know where they can find you if you do on social media, Twitter, anything like that.
I see. I'm not a big Twitter guy. I've literally just got my Instagram working only because my daughter, being an old man like I am. But hopefully I'll be on again. And
you find them in the chat on Tereak Talks.
Yeah, exactly. When they find you, they'll find me because I stalk you, like, you know.
I love that. Exactly. And what about you, Joe? What about yourself?
I don't have social media at all. I have no interest in whatsoever. You'll find me in Harry's Discord. You'll find me in Tom's Discord. You'll find me on the PSN. If you want me, you'll find me.
Okay.
Social media is not for me.
Oh, fair enough, man. But yeah, we got T-Sheet in the chat. He's saying for one of our members, one of the subscribers, shout out Casey for not smoking. Basically Casey. He's smashing it. And what was that? 8 weeks now? Was it 8 weeks? I believe. Haven't smoked in 52 days. Haven't vaped in 3 days now. Big up yourself, Casey. That is very difficult.
Fair play.
Exactly.
Yes.
Big shout out. And shout out to everyone in the chat as well. Thank you to everyone for joining. I'll be here all night if I say everyone, but thank you. You know who you are. Appreciate that. And appreciate your comments too, because they actually helped me and raise some points. And Saliba was one of them speaking about into Smith Rowe, Martinelli. So yeah, appreciate that, guys. Thank you very much for joining me. You'll catch me here on Thursday as well, people. I'll be doing a Premier League, sort of similar discussion like this, not as much depth. But yeah, thank you very much, people. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your night, day, morning, wherever you're watching, because I know we've got people elsewhere. So take